Welcome back to the Garden with Joy and Holly radio show. Time for your questions, our answers. Thank you for being part of the program today. If you've got a question, we probably can get you an answer that will work for you. That is the correct answer. You want to do that, you can give us a call at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Or you can give us, send us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. We'll see what we can get through to the top of the hour, Holly. This question is sponsored by Fleet Farm and FleetFarm.com. When do you turn on your indoor lights, your grow lights, after the seeds germinated, before? I've read different things, and what is your thoughts?
So if the seeds haven't germinated, like if they haven't poked through the soil, you don't need the grow lights on. So once they sprout, then you want to turn the grow lights on. Obviously, if you started some seeds, they sprouted, and then you start more seeds, you want to leave the grow lights on as that goes in succession. But yeah, you don't have to turn them on. As soon as you plant the seed, you don't need to turn them on. Once you see them poking through the soil, that's when you do.
Right. There are some seeds that require a certain amount of light in order to germinate, but unless you're starting seeds in a cave, you're probably going to have some ambient light, which would be enough light that would be needed for those seeds to germinate, and then you can turn on your grow light. Happy Leaf LED grow light is what we would prefer. Works much better than tube lights, but then you're good to go on that. Well, Holly, let's go to the hotline. We had a question from Frank that he called in, has some questions, and he called 1-800-927-SHOW. Let's see what he's got to ask.
Good morning. My name is Frank from Joliet, Illinois, on WJOL 1340 AM. Just heard about your show. First time I listened to it. Pretty interesting. And I have issues with tomatoes in the summer when they turn red. We have the tribe of squirrels that love to come by and eat them up or just chew holes in them and leave. So I put chicken wire around them once they get red, and then they get all scratched up trying to get in there. And I was using coffee grounds on potted plants to keep squirrels away. Also, now we have deer that come up from the lowland, and they pull the plants right out of the ground when the tomatoes are still green. And I'm really getting bent out of shape over both of these situations, and I don't know if there's a situation or what I can put on them or detour them. But yeah, I'll be listening to the show now weekly that I know it's on. Thanks for your knowledge.
Well, we thank you, Frank, for calling in. That's a new station we've picked up, WJOL 1340 out of Joliet. Hello to all of you down there. And we can help you, Frank. We've got a couple of solutions to your problem. One for the deer. You can use Deer Defeat at deerdefeat.com. You can use code RADIO to save 10% off your order. It's an all-natural deer and rabbit and groundhog application. It's all natural. You spray it on. You don't smell it after 30 minutes, but the animals can smell it for up to 30 days after rain, snow, sleet, freeze. It's still there. You will have to reply it after a certain amount of time, but we've got listeners that swear by this, and they use it time and time again, and they have a garden that you can, it's picture perfect. Now, for the squirrels, Holly, many people may say firearms would be the answer, but some people choose not to do that. So There are other ways in which to keep them or detour them from getting in the garden.
Right. So you can dilute cayenne pepper, hot pepper, spicy pepper in some water and vinegar, I believe. And then you would spray that on the plants, all around the plants. You can spray it on the plants, all around the plants, etc., because it's not going to harm the plants itself. If you do get some on the tomatoes, you want to make sure you rinse those off well before you, say you have green tomatoes, not ripe tomatoes, then you want to rinse those off before you consume them, because otherwise it could be a spicy surprise. Otherwise, another thing that could be helpful is sometimes those squirrels, little pests are looking for water source, and that's why they eat the tomatoes. So you could give them a water source in a different part of the yard. Yeah, there's a number of different applications to apply in different types of levels of
chili powder, hot spicy stuff, because the squirrels they can pick up that capillary. They have that sensory, and they don't like that heat. That's why in cases of them getting in your bird feeder, you would mix bird feed or bird seed with cayenne pepper, because the birds cannot taste that heat. The squirrels can, and they'll go to your neighbor's bird feeder and eat their bird feed instead of yours. So we hope that will help you, and best of luck to you with those situations, and they'll get better.
All right, so next question is, I've seen people use grass clippings when putting filler in for your raised beds. How do you do that without the grass growing?
Well, filler for a raised bed, that takes a lot of grass clippings, and grass clippings would break down very quickly, so the filler would dissipate and turn into compost much more rapidly than if you were using sticks, twigs, or logs. You would want to use seed-free grass clippings and chemical-free grass clippings. If you have a lawn that has been sprayed with a weed and feed, that will contain a chemical called 2,4-D, which is a broadleaf spray that kills the broadleaves, the dandelions, the lamb's quarters, anything but grass. We used it on the farm for thistles in the pastures. So you would want to avoid using those grass clippings, because the grass clippings absorb that 2,4-D and transfer it into the garden, even in a compostable state. Black compost looks great. It still has that potency in it, and it will kill any of your broadleaf, or greatly deform your broadleaf plants, your eggplants, your potatoes, your tomatoes, your et cetera, et cetera. So I would use logs, twigs, sticks rather than grass clippings. Now, if you've got chemical-free, seed-free grass clippings, that would make a very good mulch, but I wouldn't use it as a filler for a raised bed.
No, it would break down way too quickly, and that's not the best idea. I agree with using it as a mulch alternatively. All right, so next question is, I want to plant cucumbers by seed. I was told I need to soak the seeds first. I've never heard of this. Any helpful information is appreciated. So I've never heard of anybody soaking I've heard people soaking all sorts of seeds,
right.
Not cucumber seeds specifically, but when seeds are soaked in water, they warm up and produce carbon dioxide, and then this takes them out of dormancy in a way. So it does kind of wake them up a bit. Mm-hmm. Usually we'll soak larger seeds like pea seeds and
peas, beans, corn, even like zucchini or squash if we really need to accelerate the growth. Because
and then one time we grow okra, we soak the okra seeds.
Okra seeds, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Cucumber seeds don't seem necessary to soak.
They're such thin coated. They've got a very thin seed coat. And essentially what you're doing, Holly, is when you soak a seed, you're hydrating it in layman's terms and accelerating the germination time frame immensely. Instead of maybe 7 to 14 days, you're knocking that down to 5 to 7 days, because it's hydrated. It doesn't have to set in the soil, absorb moisture, and then do its cycle. Small seeds like lettuce, radishes, carrots, very thin, absolutely a pain if you try to soak them, and they're going to absorb the moisture very quickly, assuming that you keep the soil contact to the seed and you allow the moisture to stay in there, whether you have to apply a mulch or a cardboard over top of it until germination occurs. But the larger seeds, go ahead and soak them. The problem with larger seeds and soaking larger seeds, Holly, is you want to make sure you know how many seeds you need, so you're not soaking 2 packs of pea seeds and you only use half a pack, and then you got to figure out what to do, because once they're soaked, you can't unsoak them. They're ready to go.
Right, and that's sometimes hard to plan, but it's not the worst thing to plan. It's just something to keep in mind, that, or maybe you soak less than you think you need, and then you have some that don't soak, and then maybe you can see which ones germinate faster, and then you'll have your own little science experiment. Right.
Yeah. Well, here's the one for you, Holly. With your indoor seedlings, do you guys normally feed them with some type of fertilizer before transplanting them?
No, we don't, because we start them in a compost seed starting mix with a slow release fertilizer. If you do want to do this, you want to get a 1-to-1 NPK, so that way it'll feed them the best. You want to make sure that it is water soluble, and then you want to maybe decide if you want organic or synthetic. That's up to you. Now,
whenever if you choose to fertilize it with a liquid fertilizer, whatever the package says, back that thing off to quarter strength, because you can over fertilize a plant and do it very easily and then cause more problems. And if it was over fertilizing and under fertilizing can almost distribute the same type of characteristics in a plant's display. And then you think, oh, I didn't fertilize enough, and you put more fertilizer on it, and you actually are killing the plant. Synthetic fertilizers the plant can be dependent on it. Organic fertilizer, not the case. So keep that in mind. But most times, if this is more prevalent if you're using the peat pellets, expanding peat pellets. If you're using, like we use, a slow release fertilizer, we've never had a concern with such. I would offer the suggestion that if you feel that you need to fertilize the plant in some form, make some homemade compost tea. No matter what strength you make, the plant, it's going to be fine. The plant's going to absorb what it needs to. You don't have to worry about ratios and synthetic or organic. There's many great informational articles and videos online on how to make homemade compost tea. That's the best thing for your plants and your house plants, for that matter. And if you want to soak your big seeds in that, that's even better, to soak your big seeds in it.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.